Welcome into Speaking Sports. Today on the show, Cliff Stanfill to go over the NHL hockey season forthcoming. Going to have B-Ray on to talk some college football and anything else I can think about that's irritating me. Stay with us. All right, welcome in. Got my buddy Cliff here. Cliff, you're like my first in-studio guest on this show.
Awesome.
I did a remote not too long ago out from Hermitage Golf Club.
Okay.
But you're the only other person that's been in that, and you're the only one that's been brought into the sanctity of the inner circle of the Speaking Sports studio, powered by AvCare RNS and brought to you by KRT.
Nice.
What's going on?
It's great to be here, man.
Do you like NHL more than you like football?
Weirdly,
You know what? I'm going to rephrase that. When Tennessee sucks, do you like hockey better than football?
And let me preface, yes, we do. We are bad. There's some glimmer of hope there with the Vols, and I'm rooting for them.
I think you got a chance to beat Ole Miss this weekend.
I
really do. Ole Miss has
Yeah.
played with as I was telling Molly yesterday or whatever day it was, Ole Miss played with a lot of emotion against Arkansas. Mm-hmm. A lot. And my dad always used to say, you only have so much in your emotional bucket. And you remember when you and I were coaching, we would talk about that. Look.
And winning championships.
We don't want to use a lot of emotion here because we're going to need it later.
That's right.
And I think they expended a lot of emotion Saturday against Arkansas. I think they're going to go into Knoxville and get beat.
I hope you're right. I don't know. I hope you're right. I think
I'm not normally rooting for Tennessee, but I can't stand Ole Miss.
I hear you.
I didn't say it out loud, but
I think I'm a little bit worried. And hopefully none of the RNS guys hear this, but I'm very worried about Kentucky. I think they're going to boat race Tennessee.
Well, but you ain't got to worry about it. Now, if they go into Georgia this weekend and play well, that could happen.
I think Georgia's going to kill anybody they play, including Alabama.
Yeah, it's possible. It's possible, but tell you what, anything can happen.
Right. So as a Southerner, yes, I grew up on football, right?
Yeah.
We all love football.
Mm-hmm.
You and I love baseball probably more
We
than
do.
most.
I love football's at the top of my chain,
Mm-hmm.
and then probably baseball, and then hockey and basketball are in there somewhere. I didn't play either one of those, so.
All right. How about the Braves?
Yeah.
They just clinched going to NLCS.
Yeah. I know you're a big Braves fan too. We'll come back next week and talk about the playoffs, either next week or the next. But so you'll do that, won't you?
Sure. For you,
He's
man.
our resident expert for sports that I don't follow that much. So the hockey season started.
Yes.
Right. So we're filming this
Wednesday.
on Thursday. We're filming on Thursday. This may go up this afternoon. It may go up in the morning, but it started yesterday.
Well, I think there was one game.
There was one game Tuesday,
night.
wasn't there? Yeah. And then it's on a network. Is it back on ESPN now for the first time in a while?
There are some games that there was a deal made between ESPN and TBS and in the NBC, I think, with the NHL.
I got you.
To get a lot more games on national television.
Mm-hmm.
I think most of the regional games, though, will still be on, which is now Bally's Sports South this year for the Preds.
Yeah. I saw a promo. And I want to say it was for a game on ESPN saying it was the first time NHL was on ESPN in 12 years.
Yeah.
Something like that. So that's a big deal. They're kind of making a comeback.
Yeah.
Do you think the NHL falls in there somewhere between baseball and NASCAR? I mean, it appears to have.
Right, yeah.
Because there for a while, NASCAR was right up there in the top 3 or 4. Back when they were still fist fighting after the race.
Right, and I think that's what they lost, too, is, because NASCAR used to have a massive following.
They got really corporate.
Yeah.
They got really corporate. They tried to get political in the last 5 years.
It.
They've really not – they've made it a little bit cost prohibitive, too.
Yeah.
With their tickets and that.
Right.
So, I don't know. I quit watching NASCAR when Jeff Gordon retired.
Yeah.
I was one of the 3 people that
I kind
thought
of
he
gave
was
up.
good.
I stayed around for a couple years after Earnhardt died, but it kind of it lost the old grittiness.
Everybody remembers where they were when they found out he was.
Yeah.
I was in line at Food Line checking out.
Yeah,
because the race was over.
Right.
They'd take him to the hospital. I had to go to the store. It was my job that day.
Right.
And so I was in line at the store.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people maybe hung around just because of waiting to see if Earnhardt Jr. would pick up that mantle, but he kind of never really did.
He got in some health troubles. We still hadn't talked about hockey though.
We haven't. Yeah.
But and maybe that's my point. I don't know.
Right.
It's not. It's a lot like it's more popular here than soccer, regardless of what
sure.
anybody will tell you to your
sure.
face.
Yeah.
You know, and the fact that we have a team in Nashville, I never turned down an invitation to go to a game.
Right.
You know,
so I think it depends on where you're at. I think if you're in Detroit, if you're in Canada, if you're in Boston, I think hockey is massively popular.
I was going to save this for the end, but so the top 5 teams in worth in the NHL. Can you name them? And I'm not going to ask you to name them in order. I'll tell you what order they come in, but
I would guess Boston is in there somewhere.
Boston is in there.
And
I'll even tell you, they're in there at number 5, $1.31 billion net worth.
Okay, and I would guess at least 2 or 3 of them are Canadian teams.
Okay, well, pick one.
Montreal.
They're in there at number 3, $1.5 billion.
All right. Ontario.
What's their mascot?
Uh,
You're thinking of Toronto, not Ontario.
Yes, Toronto. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, they're in there at number 1, $2 billion.
Toronto. Yep.
That was a help.
Yeah. Anything north of the border, they're all just kind of
okay. So there's 2 left.
New York Rangers.
The Rangers are at number 2, $1.87 billion.
Nice
in net worth.
Chicago.
And Chicago.
Yeah.
Chicago. Now, what do those teams all have in common?
They have been around a long time, and they have a fan base that is educated in the sport.
They are 6 of the original teams that formed the NHL. Very good. Very good. You moved to the head of the class.
Nice. So I think my point then.
You're also in the back of the class.
That's right. I'm also last. So my point, I guess, for how popular the NHL is. I think in cities like Chicago, Detroit, Boston, immensely popular. I think with the run that Nashville had several years ago, 16, 17, 18, I think they became more popular. And as they stick around longer and continue to have some success, I think more and more people are apt to start looking. Because I talk to a lot of people all the time, but well, it looks interesting, but I don't understand the rules. So and I had friends that that I used to watch with, and once I learned the rules, it became one. It's right up there. It's tied for number 1 with football, college football and baseball for me. So it's so fast paced. It's so fun to watch. I
can't see the puck.
Oh yeah.
So I just kind of stare at the floor. If I'm at the game, I just stare at the floor until I hear the crowd and the horn, and then I look at the replay because they usually slow it down enough to where I can find the puck in the video. I can't see it. I just sometimes I can if they're spread out,
right?
But if they're playing in a bunch, I have a hard time locating the puck, and I like it. I wouldn't even go to a soccer game. I mean, that's just me. Everybody's got their choice. That's my choice. I wouldn't do it.
I played for 9 years and I quit because I hated it. It was so boring.
What? I coached my son when he was 4 doing it. I didn't see the game transitioning much from the 4-year-olds who were playing it. They kicked the ball in the net.
Yeah, and it's the most popular sport in the world.
Oh, well, I know.
And I can't stand it.
I wonder if it's – I'm not even going to –
well,
I'm going to get down a rabbit hole if I –
but there's so much flopping, it's hard to watch.
And that's the other thing about hockey. There aren't as many opportunities to play youth hockey.
Right.
Especially in this area. Now, they did it. They put a facility at Centennial Park when they brought the Predators here. And then I know that the Union Hall in Spring Hill for General Motors has an inline hockey rink out behind it, or it did have.
Okay.
And I don't know. I never heard that they were having hockey games out there, but there was an opportunity for it there. But it's not like Little League, and it's not like Pop Warner football.
Yeah, there's no community. You can't just run out.
But
the road.
Don't you think if I was in the NHL, I think I would. If you really were thinking about the future, I would develop some kind of Little League type hockey organization and start bringing kids in. Find a youth. NFL's got the flag football for all the people that don't want to play.
Right. So I think the Preds have done a thing where they have these camps now. during the off season. They built 2 or 3 small rinks there in the Nashville area. It hasn't trickled down to our lower end of the state here, but I think they're starting to do a few things. But yeah, you're right that they need to do, if they really want it to bust out like baseball and football. It's got to be in most all the communities.
So we went down a rabbit hole, but we went where I wanted to go. Overall on the season, what do you expect out of the hockey season this year?
Well, the hockey world expects them to finish 7th out of an 8-team division.
Yeah,
I'm cautiously optimistic, I would say. There's a lot of things to be hopeful about. There's a lot of reason to have some optimism. I've seen. Just for example, just yesterday we signed Ekholm to a long-term deal. I think he's signed through 2026 now at $6.25 per. He's become one of the associate captains, right behind Yossi as the captain. I've heard some reports coming out that because there was always been some problems, I guess, the last couple of years with Duchesne and Johansson where they're not living up to their contract. So they put both of them on the same line, on the one line, and they're up there with Forsberg, who's in a contract year, and he said he's not going to sign until he's going to play out the contract. And honestly, I don't think we'll get him back, but I don't want to go down that rabbit hole just yet. But I've heard a lot of reports though that group, that first line, are playing harder this offseason, this preseason than they have seen them play in years.
Oh, that's a plus.
Yeah. And then if you look at the end of last year where they brought that youth movement up, you had Yakov Trenin, Tanner Janot, Kunin that they traded for, Granlund. There's a lot of young guys coming in with a lot of talent, and they came in and did really, really well at the end of the year last year. Enough to go from a team that should have been selling at the trade deadline to making the playoffs. Mm-hmm. So there's some certainly, I think, some things to be watching for and some reason to think that they could make a good go.
What do you think the key to it is? They're replacing their goalie. Are they replacing the goalie, or is this the goalie they've been preparing all this time's taken over?
Well, both, yeah.
But still.
Yeah, but you're
there's always that caveat with
right.
with a goalie that's coming in after a legend's leaving.
Yeah, Pekka Rinne is probably the greatest pred to ever play in Nashville. Mm-hmm. He's been around for so long. He's been the face of the franchise, and he was so good.
Who did he play behind when he came in? Was it Dunham?
Golly,
wasn't that he a former goalie?
Yeah, it's
Dunham?
been like 11, 12 years. Yeah, Dunham was. Yeah, Chris Mason was there when Pekka was there.
Yeah, because I remember when Pekka replaced Dunham. I wanted Dunham to stay forever.
Oh, yeah?
And now they've replaced Pekka, and I wanted Pekka to stay forever.
And he's such a good
For
guy.
as little bit as I know about it,
right.
I still know that is kind of the cog in the wheel that has to be consistent. It has to be.
Oh, for sure.
It's the trick to win.
If the goalie's not playing well, the team's not going to play well.
Jeff Fisher used to always say, if we score a lot of points, we might win. If we can stop them from scoring, we're not going to lose.
Right.
And so if you translate that into just about any sport, what's the key?
Yeah.
It's that goalie.
Yeah.
That goalie's got to be on him. I can't imagine sitting in there with that thing coming at you at about 80, 90, 100 miles an hour. It's not even like catching a fastball.
Yeah, and they during the preseason or whatever, they have the thing where they bring in the different skill things, and they have those who has the hardest shot, and what's his name? He used to play for the Preds back several years ago. He was our captain, and then he left. Anyway, he's hitting it at about 105 miles an hour. From what?
Yeah, I'm not
30,
doing that.
40 feet away. I mean,
I'm going to pass on that. I can just tell you that right now.
Anyway, yes, we've lost Pekka, and it's just the guy himself. To lose him is going to be tough for the team. But you see, they've been grooming him for years and years. Mm-hmm. He has shown glimpses of just outstanding play, but he's a small goalie, and just he covers less of that giant net hole.
I don't know why you don't get like a 6'6", 6'7", 350-pound dude and just sit him down. Just go look. Just sit down here, right in the trap. Just sit right there.
Yeah, get you a sumo wrestler.
We'll be back.
Yeah. So
they'd figure out a way to circumvent that. There's a reason nobody's tried it, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
There's probably a law
right?
of physics at work there somewhere that I'm not aware of. So you sent me this list and writing that's too small for me to read at my age, even with my glasses on. Tell me what it is. It's the lines
Yes.
as you see them, or is this it?
So this is how. So these lines here. This is they had to turn in their final 23-man roster Monday. So these guys here are on the team. The lines as they're paired up is
Okay,
how
so
they've been
this
playing.
is in depth form. So the top line is across the top.
Yes, that's the first line,
Okay,
and then
yeah.
you got the first line being Forsberg, Johansson, and Duchesne there, and there's a lot of hope there for the first time in a while, I think, because of the way they've been playing. Second line were Granlund, who they just re-signed this year, centering for Kunin and Tovanen, who supposedly, that they're looking for a lot of things out of Tovanen, especially on the power play, because he's got one of those Ovechkin-type shots, from the circle that can really just nail it. So,
I have to say, I said, like I know what that is.
okay.
Hey, full disclosure here. I'm professed
right.
that I don't know.
I'm here to help.
Ovechkin?
Ovechkin. So he plays. He's been playing.
That sounds like a vegetable I won't eat.
Yeah. No. He's in fact, he's probably one of the few stars, I guess. But speaking of stars, that's part of the problem with the Preds right now. We don't have any, top A-list.
Sometimes that's
stars.
not a bad thing though.
No, we did it
because it forces everybody to play as a team.
Yeah. Now we're deeper than most other teams, but we just don't have that one or two guys in the.
There's the guy in my family that knows something about that.
Oh yeah.
I should have brought him on. He would have freaked. Can you?
Is that Austin?
Yeah.
Oh, what's up, buddy?
He hung up, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the Common Fan's own Austin Dunston, who I was going to say follows it religiously. He loves Soros. He wants to be in the middle of the hockey world, but
Right.
And I take him every chance I get, or he goes, or whatever. But he's the guy, and he's coming up from from baseball. He never played it. It's not been a big deal, but he's in it. Is everything all right? So yes, this is not live, but live enough.
That's right.
So okay. So you were. Tell me what the difference is between of the three front line positions. What's the most important one?
Well, so
who's the guy that's got to play the most consistently out of those three guys in the front?
So normally you put all of your most talent on that front line, right? Your offensive talent, your forwards, and you expect that's mostly where your money is. You expect most of your offense to come from those lines, and they really need to contribute. However, most of the time your first line is playing against the other team's first line. So like I said, we don't have those Nathan McKinnons. We don't have those massive stars that are just putting out ridiculous numbers. But like I said, if these guys play hard, they can play with anybody.
Can they create things together? In other words, if the distance between, let's say I'm the opposing team and my front line has a star and then a couple of guys that are all right skating with him, can I put out three guys that are consistently equally talented, but maybe none of them are as good as the best player we're facing? Can they create more havoc together?
Yes, they can.
Being like that, and then I guess therein lies the strategy of how you would defend or offend against another team.
Right. A lot of teams on their first line, they'll have that one star and one or two pretty good players with him, right?
Yeah.
We have that our first line. I mean, none of them are stars, but all three of them are extremely talented and can pretty much force their will. When they're playing with their hair on fire, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. So I think...
Is that David Poile's shtick? Every time he seems like to me when he gets a star, he rides them for a little while and then he jettisons them for draft picks.
Right.
And to me, that's always kind of why we never make it over that get to the cup type. I mean, we got pretty close. So he's got, which he walks away from that with a lot of confidence in his method. However,
right. So I think he's been trying to, especially this last 6 or 8 years, play for put a really good team on that has a really good chance, and play for longevity. And he wants a big window. I think he's getting near the end of his career now, and I think, and I don't know this, but it seems like with the contracts that he's been signing, that maybe the owners have said to him, hey, no more long-term contracts. You know, we're going to give you 4 years if you like somebody. So I'm doing a 4-year, and that's about it. Because you know, looking at what they did with Johansson and Duchesne, where they give them 6 or 8 years and $8 or $9 million,